Last year in Los Angeles County, 387 people died as a result of gang violence.
These past 7 days were a record week, 78 homicides.
2 officers gunned down late last night.
It is the involvement of the gangs in the lucrative drug trade that has led to all the terror in the streets.
Police have no leads on this.
Ripped apart by an insidious invasion of crime and drugs.
Another victim of a Los Angeles street gang.
When police say this is war, that's not much.
We're out here in force, and we're going to stay out here.
Well, it's just a war zone.
Almost 200 people here were killed by teenage gangs.
No matter what time of day, we have the shootings continuous.
We cannot put up with this kind of animal behavior.
Fighting, therefore, juvenile crime has got to become our top law enforcement priority.
Unfortunately, the leadership of the Congress still seems more interested in protecting criminals than law-abiding citizens.
I don't think there should be 3 strikes. I think 1 is plenty, and we need to remove those people from society.
To abolish parole for violent criminals all across America.
These people have no place in a decent society. And as far as this president's concerned, they can go to jail, and they can stay in jail, and they can rot in jail for crimes like that.
I guess I'm uncomfortable with the tough talk on crime, because I think in the history of this country and of this state, it's never issued in smart policies. The governor could build 20 more prisons, and I think they would all get filled. And that's really not a testament to its effectiveness as a deterrent to crime. If we had jobs in my community, drug selling would disappear immediately. And I think that building prisons to address crime is a little bit like building graveyards to address AIDS. It's ridiculous.
It started with a funeral. A young gang member's death was his first real connection to the neighborhood.
I buried my first kid in 1988. He was a identical twin, you know, even his mom couldn't tell them apart. And so they have the coffin right here, and I have him peer down into this coffin like they had slapped a mirror, like he was staring at his mirror image. They were dressed the same, they looked identical. And it became this sort of image for me of kids inexplicably killing their mirror image, basically.
G-Dog is Father Greg Boyle, a 37-year-old Jesuit priest in East Los Angeles. In a neighborhood that is torn with gang violence, Father Boyle has earned a measure of respect from young Latino gang members who call him by that name. He's provided jobs for them and a school. And his willingness even to walk into the line of fire to stop a gunfight, to mediate gang disputes, has made him a kind of hero to these young men who call themselves homeboys.
East Los Angeles, and particularly the Hollenbeck division of the LAPD, where Father Greg did most of his work, had the highest level of gang activity in LA County. And the area of Hollenbeck that had the highest level of gang activity was the Pico Aliso housing projects.
Pico Gardens Aliso Village at one time comprised the largest grouping of public housing west of the Mississippi. There were 8 active warring gangs at play there in those 2 housing projects. These projects are situated in 16 square miles, and within that area we have 60 gangs and 10,000 gang members.
So this tiny area that's smaller than most college campuses had the highest level of gang activity in the world. So it was a scary place to be and a real scary place to grow up.
I'd be out on my bike in the middle of the night and talking with gang members in the darkness of a project overhang, and enemies would creep in and open up fire. So I had many of those moments.
Gangs have a real tight hold on their neighborhoods, and the way they maintain that hold is through force and fear. They have no qualms with robbing people that they've known for years, and they'll just flat out tell them, don't say anything. And a lot of the times people are just so scared that they don't want to do anything.
Especially on shooting cases, they'll say, well, who's going to testify? They know nobody is. That's the sad part. You know, they know that nobody's going to come forward.
So it's a matter of the people being able to overcome that fear that they're going to be retaliated against, and for them to understand that, you know, we're here to help them, and the only way we can help them is if they help us.
And so I got permission and access into the juvenile hall. I heard that kids got shot, then you'd go see them And that gave you a kind of a credibility. When I was walking in the projects, I could tell them, hey, you know, I saw your homeboy Lefty at juvenile hall. He said to say hello. Subsequently, these guys would be returned to the community from the hospital or the jail, and then they would say, hey, he visited me. And I know that it was entree and it was immediate.
No one knew it at the time, but a role model, a father figure so urgently needed, was beginning to walk the streets.
I don't see G as a priest, I just see him as one of my homeboys, you know, that's just all with gray hair.
He's always been there for us. Whenever I need him, he's been there for me. I could talk to him. I mean, I wouldn't even step into a church before I met him.
Nah, we're gonna do something bad, like a drive-by or something, and all of a sudden there goes Father Greg with his big forehead. He used to pass by in his little bike. And
hey, what you guys doing?
What are you guys doing? And everybody used to run back, and then everybody used to get that like nothing, and there goes Father Greg, I seen you, and this man, telling everybody a big lecture. And then they were like, sorry, Father Greg.
He tried to help everybody, try to give everybody a job. You know, instead of being out there in the streets, getting shot, getting killed.
That made me feel all right, because, you know, he got me a job. You don't want me to be selling dope out there, so that made me think he cares about us.
When you first saw him, you wouldn't think that he would be the one that would be caring for you there. You see him just riding on a bike and made a lot of difference out here.
One of 8 children, Greg Boyle was born in 1954 in the affluent section of Los Angeles known as Hancock Park.
We lived on a street that had 55 children, and they all went to school together. It was just wonderful. They all stayed on one side of the street, which was helpful. I remember he would always pick up a dead bird. He'd always find a dead bird, and then we'd have to have a big burial. And our yard was so filled with buried dead birds that, as my next door neighbor used to say, you know, I thought he was going to be a priest.
Greg Boyle led a very privileged life, as well as one of great spirituality.
He got a lot from his dad. He was one of the first lectors over at St. Brendan's, and he'd always had the key to open up if the priests weren't up to open up the church. He'd open it up and get everything ready.
As a student at Loyola High School, Greg found himself at the center of peace rallies and anti-war demonstrations. His teachers, all Jesuit priests, were activists in every sense of the word.
I was ordained a priest in 1984. Right after ordination, I came here for the first time, so that was 20 years ago. And this was my first assignment as a priest, and spent just a summer here. Then I went to Bolivia.
He just loved the people and worked with the poor, trying to fight for a lot of their rights.
That was a real conversion period for me, a time of seeing in the poor the kind of the good news proclaimed and felt myself evangelized really by them. And that changed me. I was supposed to come back and work at one of our universities, but asked my provincial if I could go to the poorest place we had, which was this place, Dolores Mission.
Many people ask me, am I not worried about him? Of course I'm worried about him, but what do you do about it? Don't you just place your faith in God and hope that he gets out of the way of crossfire or something like that? But there's nothing you can do about it. He loves it, and they love him.
By the early 1990s, East LA had descended into some kind of unforgiving hell. Block by block, gang members claimed their territory, crossed the line, pay the price. But Boyle Heights wasn't always like this. For hundreds of years, it was home to Mexicans and San Gabrieleno Native Americans who lived in this agricultural paraíso. As the railroads brought more and more people west, East Los Angeles became the first stop many ethnic groups called home. With the outbreak of World War II, there was a shortage of farmhands and laborers. A federal program known as the Braceros brought in over 4 million Mexicans to replace the men in uniform. The children of these immigrants stuck to their barrios and became known as the Pachucos. The zoot suit became synonymous with them. Culturally, it represented the best and the worst.
They were harassing them more, they were picking them up, stopping them for any little thing. It was a racial thing, picking out certain people of color, you know, who dressed differently, who didn't participate in the so-called American way. Once you get stigmatized in society, you know, it's hard to break away from it.
In 1942, GIs bound for the Pacific clashed with the Pachucos and divided Angelenos along racial lines. This lit a match that's still burning today.
I decided to do comparative research on different street gangs in the area, particularly focusing on how social control breaks down in the city, how there are overstressed families, schools that have not been able to accommodate all the problems and learning difficulties of populations in low-income areas. And also law enforcement has not been able to sort of bridge the gap that exists between minority communities and law enforcement.
My mom and dad, they're from Mexico, and they didn't know better. They just brought us here to get a better future, but you know, it was up to us on that if we wanted a better future or not. They didn't know how to guide us in the streets of LA.
I had a stepdad, which we grew up with him, but he was not a father figure because he started doing drugs, started hitting my mom, which every time he hit my mom, me and my brother just beat his ass.
So many of these kids have family backgrounds you just couldn't believe. Sometimes they have parents that are involved in drugs and just were absent for them.
By the time Joe was a teenager, his mother had all but abandoned him, so he embraced a new family.
It's almost like the girl of your dreams, you know, reuniting with the girl of your dreams, you know, and she accepts you with all your failures, with all your faults and all your luggage. You know, that doesn't matter. Here in my neighborhood, it didn't matter. And generally in every gang, it's like that. But it's the acceptance issue that, you know, that's the biggest part. So it's like we kind of promoted each other and influenced each other into staying active, you know. I never thought I'd be leaving here. I mean, I knew I would go to prison someday or die. But it seems like I was closer to death than going to prison more often. What influenced me in the gangs was my uncle, because I remember him coming home drunk, and he used to live with us. And he was from a different gang, older, had a lot of respect, you know, in and out of prison, he had the status. But I used to see how people used to react to him, and I wanted that, because at home I didn't have that, you know. At home it was different. He used to have me hold his arm so he could shoot heroin. And I remember one time I didn't hold it right, and blood got on my face. It squirted on my face from his vein, and I threw up, and I started crying. I was only like 9 years old. And I remember him telling me, you know, men don't cry. Men don't cry. And then after I left, he overdosed. And I took personal responsibility of that. I felt like it was my fault. And how to react to that? It's like I didn't have a chance to grow up. You know, it shouldn't hurt to be a kid.
I met Joe Aleman when he was incarcerated up at Mule Creek Prison. And I met him part of the Criminals and Gangs Anonymous group. I've been up there so many times and saw him there so many times that he gave his testimony, and it was, you know, very powerful. And we got to know each other, and we corresponded over the years.
While at Mule Creek State Prison, Joe became a member of Criminals and Gang Members Anonymous.
When I first came to CGA, I remember the first time I spoke, and I called everybody weak for crying and basically spilling out their guts to everybody.
My name's David, I'm a recovering gang member.
But all it took was for certain guys in that group to admit certain things about themselves that I had to sit back and say, wow, I feel the same thing. And I hear some shots, and I run to the front, and I see my son laying down on the floor. I just froze, I didn't know what to do. So I ran to my little kid, and he wasn't moving.
In prison, Joe found something he always wanted.
It was my life, and I was the purest of beasts.
A brother.
Name's Joey Ray, ex-gang member.
Hey, Joey Ray.
Joey Ray grew up on the streets of San Diego.
My mother and father separated, I think I was around 3 or 4. My father was in the game, my mother was in the game. I had an older brother and an older sister that were basically twice my age. They were already into drugs, in and out of prison at that time too. I could come home every day or I could wake up every day to gang members and heroin, running throughout my house. Whether they were copping dope, buying dope from my parents, they were slamming dope with them. But to me, it was family in a sense because they treated me like I was family. That's all I know is family. So somebody else may perceive it as that's a negative lifestyle, that's destructive family, that's bad home environment, whatever. Well, I couldn't compare it to somebody else's family life because I never lived in nobody else's home. I've helped my mom kick dope, and that's not a pretty sight. That's not a pretty sight at all. I couldn't understand why they were always going to prison and why that needle in their arm was more important. I really didn't. Still to this day, I accept it, but I don't know if I really still understand it, It's tough. There's a lot of resentment there. Thinking about it right now, I hated it. I hated it so much. And then, pain, you turn to something. What you don't get at home, you're going to find it somewhere else.
Actually, 80% of the adolescent males at that time joined a gang. A kid had to go so against the grain not to join a gang.
We felt we were fighting for a family, that sense of family, our homeboys are just like if it was our mother. Nobody's gonna slap them in front of us or disrespect them without them catching some heat behind it.
But what they don't realize is that it's a false family. The older guys are here to get the younger generation to join the gang and to promote the gang and to make money for the gang.
The way I got in my neighborhood, we were all partying, and I remember I wrote the WF with the spray can. And my older homeboy said, "Hey, you're not even from the neighborhood. Why are you writing that? You want to get in?" I asked him, "Do you want me in?" And if he would have said, "I don't care," it probably would have, got me mad. But he says, "Hell yeah, he just said, you're a good mother effer, So I was like, they got me in. 4 of my older homeboys jumped me in. They got around me, and we just, ready? Yeah, you just start boxing. They pound on you, beat you up, whatever, but after that, that's your initiation. But after that, there's never getting out either.
A member of La Florencia gang, Spider began his life on the streets at the age of 12.
My name, they call me Spider. One of my older homeboys gave me that nickname, I dropped out of school like around, I think, 8th grade. That's when I really, got jumped in and everything. The first time, actually was arrested with a stolen vehicle. I got caught, they sent me to camp. So I did a few months in camp. I ain't gonna lie. I got out, I started getting back into the gangbanging even more tougher now. Robbing people, selling drugs here and there, kicking in the street corners. It's just, just gangbanging, it's just that any gang pass, we're gonna let them know where we're from, I got arrested for burglary. I broke into a school, where I grew up in Gardena. And we got caught, me and my older friend, we got caught. He went to the county, I went to juvenile, And then after that, I met my girlfriend, and I started having problems with her. So sponsors started getting, and when jail went to the county for sponsors, started,
Spousal abuse?
Yeah, spousal abuse and all that. And now that I'm 24, I was 22 when I got busted for assault with a deadly weapon.
Can you explain a little bit about that?
I shot a house up. I shot a house up, and they got me, they got the gun and everything. I did 3 years. Actually, I took the deal. They wanted me to give me 12 years with no strikes. But I can't be in jail locked up for a while, I just took the 2 strikes. And now I'm hanging by a thread, And now anything I do bad, I'm gonna be put away for life, Yeah, so I gotta watch my steps.
If anyone was born to be a homegirl, it was Frances.
I'm the last of 14, and I didn't have siblings in the house because there was situations that happened before that, you know, with my mom and stuff, that her children were taken away from her. We used to live in like in a little hotel because she got her house repossessed from her when she lost the kids. My mom had Parkinson's disease, and she would act out, so I was embarrassed of her. So what I would do to look for that family role that I didn't have at home was look out in the street, and that's where I found my family.
It was her legacy, handed down from mother to daughter, sister to sister, and cousin to cousin.
I was approximately 11 years old, and my niece and her aunt, who was like her step aunt, they used to kick back with this girl. Kick back was like hang out with this girl. She had like a breaking crew. It was like they used to dance and stuff like that. So I used to go over there, and there was all kinds of guys that used to kick back right there, and it was like a family. We used to hang out together. We would call it Brooklyn side, and that was us. And there was Hazard, and there was Viennese side, and then there was a Projects, which is Cuatro and First Street. And I always said, I'm never gonna leave my homeboys. I'm never gonna leave them. I'm not gonna be like them other girls that go to different neighborhoods, because I would see girls from the projects come to our neighborhood and hang out with the guys and start partying with them and start being with them. And I said, I'll never be like that. I'm a homegrown, and I'm gonna stay like that till the day I die and this and that. And I was like that for a long time, till I was 27 years old. I think about it, the only thing I was looking for was for a family.
Gangs are bastions of conditional love. One false move and you're really out. You see that all the time around here. Where somebody's stock can change in a heartbeat, where suddenly they're on the outs, or they're deemed as somebody who's not down enough, willing to do certain things, though gang members, when they're in it, don't recognize that that's in fact the truth. Because they'll say things like, well, the gang has my back, and it's my second family, will always be there for me. And sooner or later, they discover how false that is.
By the time Frances was 17, she was buying, selling, and using drugs. By the time she was 23, Frances was stuck in an abusive relationship and the mother of 3 children.
He used to kick my ass and humiliate me. He would be with other girls and come home and have hickeys on his neck and stuff, and I accepted it because I thought that was okay. I thought it was the norm. And one day I said, you know what, that's it. I'm leaving. I'm not gonna do this. And I got my kids, got my pictures, and I left. I left the whole house. I didn't care. Everything you could replace, TVs, clothes, all that stuff. I didn't take nothing. The only thing I took was my kids' pictures, because that's one thing I didn't have when I was growing up, was pictures of myself as a little kid. And I want my kids to have that.
I can't remember when it all sort of ran together. Probably 87, 88, somewhere in there. That's when you started to see in this community these young, very young gang members, and who had been given the boot from their home school, so didn't have a school to go to, and so they were out there all the time.
First it started as dancing. We would dance against each other. And then after that, it started rumbles. We'd have rumbles at the parks.
And it would start with fist fights, you know, after school or at school, or running in their schools and fucking fools up.
There was like 6 girls coming out of school, and I wasn't going to school, of course not. This is a 14-year-old dropped out. I was sitting on my porch drinking, as a matter of fact, a 40 ounce of Old English, thinking I was, you know, whatever. I had my niece and my nephew in the front yard, and these girls passed by, and one of them told me Street Saints. I didn't know what it was because I was in South Central, and I'm from Boyle Heights. My mom tried to get away from this. So I'm like, so what? Why the fuck are you telling me? Don't you have respect? I have my little nephew and my niece. And she goes, I don't care. And she tried to get crazy. Like, I don't give a fuck. I put down my bottle. I went out. I said, well, let's go, what's up? And she's like, well, what's up? My nephew comes running around the corner, snatches this girl's chain, and just like, he scratched her all up. She's like, oh, hell no, this and that. So they started making a big old thing, and we started fighting. This girl pulls out a knife, and she wanted to stab me. So what I did, I took the knife, and I like sliced her like right here, and just like the blood just came out like a Freddy Krueger movie.
It started to get worse and worse and worse, and then next thing you know, people are dying. People are dying all over the place.
I remember my friend Spanky died right there by where that black truck is at. And some guys came from over here, actually, and 5 of them jumped out with bats. And they just came at me, hit me with the bat. And he couldn't run fast, he tripped. And they just hit him in the head until he just was unconscious, but that was the end of that.
During this time, you saw a massive explosion of firearms. Tech-9s, MAC-10s.
AK-47 assault rifles, SKS assault rifles.
Bullets that were 3-4 inches long, that would pierce through walls, and then they started firing indiscriminately into crowds, and that became the norm.
They blasted all of my house, and my daughter got a blanket, and she tried to cover the kids with the blanket, you know, thinking that the bullets were gonna stop through the blanket. She got the cover and she covered the kids like this. And she got them, she hid under the blanket and she said, oh, you know, everybody get down.
No, see, like that right there, that's my homeboy right there, Mr. Curley from White Fence, and he's one of the guys that died in my arms. This car just drove by and they shot one time with the .22 rifle and it hit him straight to the heart. And you know, 22 bullets travel in your body and they rip up everything. So I can just imagine what it did to him and his body, so.
How old was Curly?
He was 17.
I'd buried 8 kids in a 3-week period, so that was pretty intense. Those were really horrible times. It was a pretty solid decade of death.
Right here, this right here, is where I used to stay at, right here. Right there, that black door right there. My family was right there in the front. My 5-year-old son, my old lady. They were all right there in the front, you know, and they, I went to the back to get a water hose, and when I was coming up from the side, I seen a car coming, but I didn't even pay attention to it. And they just screeched that way and just let off. And, you know, I didn't know what to think, but I just ran to the front and I seen everybody laid out. I didn't even think to, I seen my son on the floor. My mom was screaming. My mom almost got shot. Hadn't it been for that metal piece in that black door right there, that the bullet did not penetrate. I didn't know what to think. It's just like it all happened so fast that she ran in the house. I ran in there to go get my gun. And I remember I put it right here in the back of my belt strap. And I was just gonna leave, not even trying to, you know, see if anyone was okay. And I remember when the cops came, they blocked off the streets and everything. And the first person they grabbed was me, but I seen them coming after me. They already knew me. And I told my lady, you know, do you want me to tell you exactly how I told her? I told her, shut the fuck up and don't say shit. Don't tell them who did it, don't say nothing. I don't know nothing. My intentions were to just come handle it myself, you know?
Right after the drive-by, Joe was arrested for 2 outstanding warrants and served 2 months in county jail. Back on the streets, he had only one thing on his mind: revenge.
So when we got to my neighborhood, I already had my gun. I told one other guy to come with me. He didn't want to come. So this other youngster offered it. So I said, come on, let's roll. So we jumped over some gates, came through a house, and I seen them all on the fire escape and some downstairs. And I said, you ready? He didn't say nothing. He was just, I could tell he was scared. So I just clocked my stuff and I just ran down. I didn't even look up to see if he was behind me. I ran in the building. They were trying to get away from me. One dude jumped from the 2nd story. I knew he broke something because he didn't get up, but when I went back downstairs, he wasn't there. I shot somebody in the apartment hallway. I ran downstairs. As soon as I was running back across the street, and my plans were to go the opposite way, not the same way I came in. And that's where I slid, because right when I was walking across the street, they yelled my name. And I looked, but I thought it was my homeboy. It wasn't. It was all them fools that came out of the apartment that I was looking for to just light up. They just all started shooting at the same time. And that's when I got shot once right here, right there, and 2 right there. I was laying next to the drain right there. My homeboy's sister, that window right there, she's seen everything. Big pool of blood and everything. My mom was fighting to go get me. They didn't let her. They actually pried her off of me because she was holding me with blood all over her. I can't imagine what goes through her head to relive that memory, you know? They put a tarp over me. They just pronounced me dead. Said I was dead. They were telling my mom, you know, in Spanish, you know, sorry, and this and that. When the paramedics came, they said they seen my hand twitching. And when we took that off, wow, you seen it was me. Actually, it was the beginning of my end.
Some 2 years after his son's death, Joe was sentenced and entered Mule Creek State Prison.
I recall Bob Dole's speech to the Republican convention in this huge arena in San Diego, and when he gets to his acceptance speech outlining all his policies as president, he gets to crime. The only thing I recall he said about crime was this rhetorical question where he asks the arena, you know, do you want to know the cause of crime in America? And people are at the edge of their seats, you know. I'll tell you the cause of crime in America, and people are breathless and they want to hear this. And he says,
criminals, violent criminals.
And that was all he said. And that one word hooked every damn buddy up from their seats in what turned out to be the longest, most enthusiastic ovation of the whole evening. And it's arguably the dumbest thing anybody's ever said about crime in America.
There was a tremendous amount of prejudice on the part of law enforcement back then against gang members. Certainly not every officer operated from the position of demonization, but an awful lot of them felt that you enforced the law, but if you had to stray over the line, you did what you had to do.
It's not all fake, what they say about the cops, the way they treat gang members. It's not. I mean, a lot of that is real.
Back then was like, you see a black and white, you better run, or you're gonna get beat down, or they're gonna set dope up on you so they could take you to jail, or take you to the factories and beat you.
This is where they would drop them off. You can get you can yell back here and nobody really could hear you in the middle of the night. Just put it that way.
Sometimes they drop you off to other enemy neighborhood and let you get fucked up, you know? They don't care. Someone don't care.
As far as I'm concerned, they're just stories. Because I've never seen anybody do it, and there's nobody that I know who's been involved in anything like that.
One time we were kicking it, me and the homeboys, we were kicking it, and the cops rolled up and started searching us, and one of the dick cops searched the car and pushed mayonnaise everywhere. He had the little packages of mayonnaise and started rubbing it in the handlebar, in the steering wheel, where you put your arms and everything, you know, and straight, you know, for being an asshole, you know, and straight, man. And he let us go and he told us get on. He told us leave, you know, he wanted us to go in the car, and we just went in and all kinds of mayonnaise everywhere. You know, it was dressed up nice too.
What could you guys do?
Well, we couldn't do nothing about it, you know, because, you know, the cops, they're gonna believe them, you know, it's like, we can't do nothing.
It created a tremendous wedge between law enforcement and the community, because the community members in the poorer communities felt that all their kids were being criminalized, regardless of who was actually engaged in criminal activity or not.
Mi nombre es Esperanza Vázquez y el viernes pasado fui atacada brutalmente por la policía. Estando yo adentro en mi casa con mis hijos, tuvieron que sacarlos de adentro, empujándolos y a mí también torciéndome los brazos y a mis hijos los golpearon como unos delincuentes. Yo le pido por favor a la policía más respeto para mi familia y toda mi comunidad. Gracias.
Sometimes these more repressive law enforcement approaches don't necessarily, like for instance, three strikes don't necessarily lower the amount of violence on the streets by getting criminals out of the streets and putting them in jail.
They're not afraid to go to jail or prison. In fact, it becomes an honor.
For me, going to prison was not so much like a college degree, but it was an experience. It was just something that you want under your belt.
When they come out of prison, they've earned some respect or street cred.
Yeah, you see that a lot. They'll go into prison for 5, 10 years, and if they went into prison when they were 18 years old and they've been in there for 10, you know, that's a third of their life that they've spent in prison. So that's a huge impact on them. That's teaching them how to act and how to behave. And then they bring that type of attitude back out on the streets.
And of course we have endless things on the books that can hold people accountable for such crimes. We don't need more of that, you know. But then it becomes the most overkill draconian silliness where they just try to heap on top of penalty more enhancement and more penalty and longer sentences.
What's next? 2 strikes? I mean, is that gonna be the answer? Prop 21? Come on, 14-year-old fucking kids, rest of their life in prison?
Just preposterous, and you just pull your hair out because you just say, gosh, these guys don't know first thing about this.
You can build missiles, but you can't figure out the human mind or the human character. Gangs are all over this fucking world, man. It's sick. But they can't take the time to understand it.
People like stuff simple, and you can't have this one simple. So you can't address it head on. You have to recognize that it's about something else, and so you have to set about the task to find the something else.
After hiding out for 2 years, Francis returned to Boyle Heights and hooked up with an old homeboy.
He had a plan. He had a plan for his life. He's like, well, if we're with each other in a year, we're gonna get married and I'm gonna buy a house. And he said it and he did it.
I followed Francis and Lewis and the kids for a year, actually a little more than a year, but the series ran in the weekly during all of 2004. And during that time, an awful lot of things happened.
We were doing the Alley Weekly stuff. And this one cop, Rudy Chavez, of course, he was just insistent on getting one of us. And he told me, I seen him at the subway on Cesar Chavez and Steak. He told me, I'm gonna get your husband. You know, don't take it personal, but I'm gonna get him.
On the day that the police raided, Frances had her cousin staying in the back bedroom because the cousin was having a hard time. Unfortunately, the cousin allowed 2 homeboys to come in to visit her, and the police raided and found the homeboys, and the homeboys had drugs on them.
They tried to say that we were stalling, and they took my husband in for that. And he did 8 months.
When Lewis got out of prison, he was determined to do well, determined to get a job. On the other hand, his only friends were homeboys. Although it was the terms of his parole that he have no contact with homeboys, this is like saying have no contact with anyone you've ever known in your entire life. So he would allow his friends to come over to the house, and that was not a safe thing for him to do.
The day the cops marched in was the day Frances lost her kids.
That's the worst day of my life. It was October 28th of 2004. We were getting ready for Halloween and, you know, getting our stuff ready, just the Halloween costumes. And when they came in, it was like ridiculous. They didn't just take my kids from me, they took my kids' innocence from them, you know? They showed them that people could be cruel, you know? They showed them not to trust LAPD. They showed them not to trust authority.
There is this overriding sense of foreboding and fatalism. It's among all gang members. Most of them have planned their funeral. Sometimes they even have written a poem about what should be read at their funeral. This is not normal.
There's this litany of the dead that everybody can recite. And people from the outside will hear this and they'll say, oh, well, they're not valuing life as much. And I think that is just so wrong. It's a defense. It's that they feel like they're gonna bleed out, that they're gonna lose so much blood emotionally that they'll never recover, that if they start crying, they're never gonna stop.
I mean, I remember telling my mom one time, I wish I never had a heart, because I thought that's where all the pain came from.
I guess it was just acting out. You know, I feel like shit, I'm gonna make everybody else feel like shit.
The primary socialization factor in their life has been the gang. That's it. And then we tell them to leave the gang, to leave all their friends, and to leave their own identity and try something new. And that's very difficult.
When you have that identity that I had built, that reputation that I had built, that respect that I got as a youngster, I wasn't just gonna let that go just like that. That's all I had to feel good about.
It's almost like a drug addict, you know? They start young, and while you're first trying it, you go gun-ho with it. You just get off the charts, you know, you just do too much. Then it becomes a drag, because now you need it every day. And now you done hurt a lot of people in your path.
And so that's sort of the key thing, I think, with gang violence, is to address the lethal absence of hope that sort of undergirds what this condition is about. It's not a problem, it's a condition. There was a kid named Ronnie who was killed a year and a half ago. He was a Marine. He had been in Afghanistan, actually. Came home on leave, was coming home around midnight from a midnight run to Jack in the Box, and some guys hit him up, which means they asked him what gang is he from. He was never from a gang. He used to work in our office as a little kid, but never got into a gang. His older brother, Angel, was from a gang. And before anybody knew it, these guys had shot him outside the kitchen door. His mother, Soledad, went out and held him as he breathed his last.
They shot him 4 times in the back, twice in the head, and they shot his hand off. And I mean, as a mother, it's like, you know, when they die, you die with them, because at that time it was like, you know, not my son, you know. I couldn't work anymore. I couldn't even think. More or less live. I didn't want to live.
About 6 months later, she had been just, obviously it destroyed her. She wore black all the time. She didn't put makeup on. She quit her job. She stayed at home. Finally, one Sunday, her son, Angel, says, "You've got to stop. You know, you have me, you have 2 other kids. You really have to snap out of this."
You have to get up and you have to look nice, and you know. And that morning, I don't know why, I just got up and I took a shower, and I hadn't put on my makeup for like all this time. And I took a shower, I changed, and I put on my makeup, and I was putting on my makeup in the bathroom. I was putting on my makeup in the bathroom, and Angel passed by, and you could see the bathroom through the kitchen. And he tells me, "Hey," he goes, "Sheesh, who's that?" You know, he goes, "Mom," he goes, "Finally, you know, I see my mom again." And I says, "Yes." I says, "You know, I'm gonna start dressing up now and stuff." He goes, "Well, it was about time, you know." And I said, "Yeah, I'm gonna start doing it." He goes, "You look real nice." And I said, "Oh, thank you." You know, and he just passed by and he says, "Finally, you know, we got her to take a bath."
And Some hours later, Angel's eating a sandwich on the front porch, and guys are chasing some enemy gang member, and they were unable to catch him, and then they turned and saw Angel sitting on the front porch, and they opened up fire.
And I started running, and my husband came in and he pushed me, and he's getting the kids out of the way, and we're like, get down, and we didn't know what was going on, and they were shooting and shooting, and one of the gunshots shot him in the head.
And killed him.
I just ran out there, and I felt it took forever. I just felt like I was just dreaming, like I wasn't even there. I called for Angel, and he didn't answer me. So when I turned around, I saw him on the floor. And at that moment, even if they were still shooting, I mean, as a mother, you don't care. I wouldn't have cared if they would have killed me, because it was like, my son's on the floor, I don't care. So I ran out anyway, and they still shot, some shots. And I just held him, but he had already, my husband says he had already passed away.
I remember going to the house as soon as I heard, and there's Soledad, forget Kleenex, forget handkerchief. She was sobbing into this bath towel, and my arms were too short to wrap around this kind of grief, Recently, I saw her, and I was asking her, how you doing? Of course, this is now a year and a half later, and she says, I love my 2 kids who are alive, and I hurt for the 2 that are gone. And then she looked at me and she said, the hurt wins. And her eyes filled up with tears. I think she was embarrassed to say this, but she said it again. The hurt wins. The image I always I like is from the psychiatrist named Gilligan in a book called Violence, where he talks about 19th century medical history, where all these doctors were staring at these diseases over here, applying everything they knew to apply, hospitals, vaccines. Nothing seemed to work. And then till quite inadvertently over here, somebody addressed the sewer system and the water supply, and magically these diseases disappeared over here because it turned out they were about something else. Part of the issue, of course, is to see gang violence as a symptom of a condition and not a problem. That the problems really are, poverty and despair and racism and families that don't function under the weight of all that they have to carry. Those are the issues you have to address. Gang violence just tells you that you've neglected to address those issues well. So I run a rehab center now, a gang rehab center.
Okay, here's a deal that just came in. I just got in the mail. So it's a construction thing out in Santa Monica for a hospital, and they're supposed to hire certain people. So anyway, I'm going to give this to Monchi. You just have to work with him, son. Okay? Is it a deal? Let's do it. Let's not waste any more time.
We work with them until they find a job. And sometimes that means that they come in several times or call in. Once they've come in the first time, they can call in and we give them additional job leads.
We have Monchi Flores and Irma, and as you can see, I'm with a client right now at the moment. And what Monchis and Irma do is see people every day that come in through our doors requesting human resources, getting help with a resume, updating the resume, sending them out to interview. Anything that falls under that job development category, then these people go ahead and job match them with whatever job skills they have.
Okay, here's Tudor Saliva and
the
construction company. And anyway, my reading of that is they need to hire certain folks from, certain minority communities, etc.
Right.
And I have a certain person who's from a certain minority, so if you can help them.
First thing we did as sort of an outreach to gang members was the alternative school, Dolores Mission Alternative School. And that was primarily because these kids had been kicked out of school, had no school that would take them. Jobs for Future was born in this evolution from gang members coming to that school and then telling us, boy, if only we had a job. And then in 1992, we started Homeboy Industries with our first business, which was Homeboy Bakery. Well, the bakery started right after the unrest, after I got an invitation from a movie producer named Ray Stark, who has recently died. He wanted to help, and long story short, I got him to buy this old bakery across the street from the church and the housing projects, and then we converted that place into Homeboy Bakery.
We get kids here from all over Los Angeles County. He visits the camps and he gives them all his card. I mean, he goes there and he talks to them individually. He says mass, sometimes he baptizes kids, or he gives them their first communion, and he has his little one-on-one and tells them that as soon as they get out, they should come here and see him.
Serving 14 years for attempted murder, Joe had lots of time to face his demons.
You know, I'm 31 and I see ahead. I can finally say I see ahead, because when I was in the streets in East LA, I couldn't see my future no more farther than I could see ahead of my block. I mean, every scar on my body is from gangbanging.
When Joe was released from Mule Creek, Joey Ray was there to meet him. First stop, Homeboy Industries.
He'd been down, 14 years, so I knew that he's not gonna come home and have, everybody waiting for him. 14 years is 14 years. I was gone 6 and nobody was waiting for me but my mom.
I met them both through that, during that time with Criminals and Gangs Anonymous, and both exceptional, very articulate and, have very compelling stories, and there were certainly two men who just sort of stood out in terms of how they, had come this incredible distance.
Spider spent a couple of years in lockup before he finally had the courage to break with his past and pay a visit to Father G.
Well, actually, when I was staying over here with my wife, my brother came for help and he gave him a job. My brother-in-law gave my brother-in-law a job. But at that time, I was still I didn't want to, I didn't want to really calm down here, I was still, active, And one day I was like, man, I was in my house too, just being nobody, just kicking back, getting high all day and watching TV, not doing nothing. I want to make money, I was always getting tired too, getting up and not having money, you know what I mean? So I came with Father G and he told me first we gotta work on your tattoos, for me to get you a job. So all right, and he told me to come the next day so they could remove them. That day I got busted. That's when I did that crime for shooting the house. That's when I did that crime, And all that time when I been busting, I've been really thinking about it man, whoa, man. I got another second chance in life, I got out and I knew if Father G would help me, because he was gonna do it the first time I got busted. So I came out and I told him I need help, because, can I get a job, And they gave me a job as a clerk, as an office clerk. Don't get me wrong, I ain't no punk though, I ain't no punk though, but this shit not life for me no more, man.
Even when a kid screws up, Father G is always willing to give him one more chance.
It's up to you, G. Seriously, I mean, I don't know. I messed up bad. I'm serious.
That's okay, son. I'm in your corner till the wheels.
I'm messing up bad, and what can I tell you? I really don't have anything to tell you.
Mikkel, I'm in your corner forever till the wheels fall off. But what is this after-school program you're in?
Probation program.
And what does that mean?
It's just, it's like a little rehab.
And how long does this program last?
Until I finish my probation on the 26th of this month.
26th of May?
26th of May.
Okay, that's just next week.
Yeah.
Okay, why don't we hold off then, okay? I'm gonna hang on to your job until, once you finish all this stuff for me.
On the 26th, I should
Yeah.
be done with everything.
And come back after Memorial Day. And we'll start all over again. Clean slate, new attitude, and...
Definitely, I miss this job, G. I'm serious. You don't realize it till after you're gone.
Yeah.
You're not here no more. You
Okay.
realize how easy things are or everything
Yeah.
else,
Okay, son. Well, that's good. That's great. You learned something, didn't you? Yeah. All right, so we're closed on the 30th. You come back on the 31st.
We always say around here, no hanging, banging, or slanging. You can't kick it with your homies. You can't slang, which is sell drugs. And you can't gangbang, which is that activity ranging from riding on the walls at the low end and shooting people at the high end and anything in between. But it is tense, you know, and if they say, I want a job, I say, okay, you have a job, but you're going to be working with this guy, and this guy. Then you think about it, they all have a common interest, which is they want work. Then they always say the same thing. They say, I'll work with them, but I won't talk with them, you know. That used to bother me in the early days because I would think, oh God, they're not going to talk. And until I discovered that, you know, you can just look at your watch and like clockwork, they not only do they talk to each other, but they become friends in a bond that's deeper than anything they've ever known in their family or in their gang.
And now people that I work with here at Homeboys is like my worst enemies are like my best friends.
Does that always happen? Yes. Any exceptions? I can't think of one. The base communities, they were and still are sort of the cutting edge of this parish. They would do things, you know, real creative things, bold things, courageous things. You know, they when selling of drugs in Aliso Village was such a kind of predominant thing. The women, you know, like on a hot summer night when they'd have their regular meeting, their weekly meeting, they would put the lawn chairs out right at the entrance of Aliso Village, and they would, you know, have their meeting, but as soon as a car came in, they'd hold up a sign and it'd say, if you've come here to buy drugs, go home. And I was quite astounded at the nice cars and the white folks and the professional type looking people who came here to buy, in those days, crack cocaine. And you just say, my gosh. Well, this caused a lot of problems. And homes were firebombed and people had their houses shot up. A couple women felt like they couldn't stay there.
So he said, okay, I'm gonna start a program. And he said, I want the mothers to get involved. If you have a chance to get into your kid's room, you find a gun, call me, I'll come and pick it up.
Here's how you disarm your sons. You go into their room, you lift up that mattress, you get that Uzi, and you bring it to me at the church. And people did it. It was quite extraordinary.
And I had a friend, you know, she's old already. She's like 85 right now. She called me and she said, I found a gun. I said, what do you want to do? Call Father Greg or leave it there? He said, no, I want to call Father Greg. I said, so I called him. They said, call him for me. So I called him. And at that time, we had already made the church for the homeless too. So, you know, and we would cook rice and, you know, food for them. So then we called him, Father Greg, we have something for the homeless. Come and pick up a lunch. And we put the gun in the bag and he would walk down across the street with his gun.
Once somebody asked me, why is it that there aren't any or too many men or hardly any men at these meetings of the base communities? I remember I asked that once in a group, expecting a certain answer. And a woman said, because they're cowards, they don't have courage, you know. And it was, I expected an answer like, oh, well, men don't go to these meetings because they're sort of Bible study, quasi-Bible study. But they knew the real reason was that these were groupings of women who took this incredible stand, many different unpopular stands that were costly to them. And the men didn't want any part of that. So.
Frances and her kids were stuck in the middle of the courts and the foster care system.
The house was so empty. I didn't want to be in the house. And all day when I would go, I demanded my visits. The first day that I went to court, I took 16 letters of recommendation. And then they tried to say that, no, my husband wasn't a good person. And then it's like, if he wasn't a good person, we wouldn't own our own house. We wouldn't be working, the both of us. We would be on, you know, welfare or you know, doing fraud like a lot of people do. It's hard. I think it was harder for Luis to do it I think it's harder for a male to change than a female, because a female, you'll do it for your kids in a heartbeat. So I say, hey, I'm gonna pick up my kids at this time, Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
On December 2nd, Frances regained custody of her kids.
But when we got them back, it was the best day of our life. We didn't know what to do with them. The house was so clean, the walls were so white. My son, Frankie, just went. He goes, I'm gonna sit on my favorite chair. We have like this big chair, and he just sat down. And it was just like they didn't want to go anywhere. All they wanted to do was enjoy their rooms. And I was like, yes, clean them. You know what I mean?
Spider's taking a big step in cleaning up his act.
Want to hit the tattoo removal real fast?
Quit taking up all that
Damn.
time. Come on.
You ready? Damn. Wait, when they do a treatment on me, I feel it in here, you know, like, oh, it's painful. I ain't gonna lie, it's real painful, you know, and I feel it in my heart, like I need, you know, that's why they give you a little heart that you squeeze, that you hold tight, so you could take, you know, take your anger on that right there, cause it hurts. Damn. All right, how you doing, man? You doing all right? All right, chilling, you know.
It's been 50 treatments, no, just kidding.
Like 14 or
15, 16 treatments.
Yeah, 16. See, the little heart, I told you about, we gotta hold. Oh, man.
You don't feel anything, right?
Nah, it's cool.
I mean, it's getting it, but obviously, see how he feels pain. We don't like have it, you know, even though it's a non-profit organization, we don't like creating more pain. Do it faster. Now I'm gonna go over it again with a little bit more power. For what I like to do at times is feel the is get the feel for the patient's pain tolerance. Almost done. Done.
Whew. Telling you.
And it makes the person sweat. And now you actually see if you take it off, you can actually see more of the skin elevating. Okay. So little by little, it's getting it. That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it. Yeah. That takes 5-10 minutes.
As you can see, the glasses are foggy. That's all that's. All the
sweat. Yeah.
It's our lovely home. And I mean lovely because it ain't concrete. It's made out of wood. You know how prison is, concrete. It's where we chill out, watch a little football, watch a little TV. As you can see here, prison habits are hard to break. We got our laundry lines up here. When I got out, I was still jumping in the shower with my boxers on. You know, my tank top and my socks, washing them all and then hanging them up. Our landlady is great, Midna. She sees us as people, not just another number and another ex-con, two-strike or whatnot. And that's big stuff for us because there's people that still believe in us even with the past that we have. Living like this has always been in my chest. It just didn't fucking seem reality. You know what I mean? Even little as fucking sweeping your own house, washing your own dishes, doing it for yourself. This may be Tupperware right here, but I'm not sitting in the cell with Tupperware, you know, cleaning out a soup spread bowl. You know what I mean? I'm at my house right now with the windows wide open, you know, smelling this fresh-ass breeze, fucking squirrels running around up there in the trees. You know what I mean? So, I mean, there's nothing like it. I can't say that I'm happy to fucking do dishes right now, but I'm happy because I'm free, you know? And that's big shit.
Okay, do you want to go to timeout? Okay, then stop.
Frances has taken a leadership role in Platicas, a support group for the women at Homeboy.
At first, I thought it wasn't going to work. But I wanted to do it, just to try it out, just to see if it would work. And it's worked. We had a 6-month anniversary, and it's coming to a year. We do a check-in. What happened during our week? Okay, you're going to go to timeout. Okay, go upstairs, or else I'm going to put you in timeout. Go upstairs. Timeout. We always end up having the same, oh yeah, you know, something similar happened to me or whatever. And We'll start talking about that. We'll talk about kids' behavior, timeout, how long we should put them in timeout. You know, they say a minute for each age, but sometimes a minute doesn't work. A minute for each year. Sometimes it just doesn't work. As you can see, I do it until he's quiet. When you're quiet, then you can get up. Oh my God, he's so much. And you see? Academy Award goes to Frankie Angel, Macias Aguilar. Let me see a tear, please. Let me see. Come here. Oh, don't cry, man. Oh my God. Were you in timeout forever? Yes? Were you in timeout forever? Okay, no more crying. Yeah. Well, because you were in timeout. Okay, no more crying. No more crying.
Father G seized an opportunity with Joe and Joey Ray and gave them a forum to express themselves.
Doing all the high school engagements, the high school speaking, working with the kids.
I'm gonna give you a little info on myself. My father's been a member of the Mexican Mafia for 36 years.
Anything that has to do with the destructive lifestyle that I've seen, if I've seen it and I can give my input or what I've learned on it and it can help somebody else or educate, by all means, I'll give it.
Nobody gave me no guidance. The only guidance that I had was, teachers telling me, yo, you're too smart, but you're gonna end up just like your mom and dad.
Father Greg has tapped into that, I think, on me, and he's using me to the best of my capabilities.
For me, getting into a gang was like signing an invisible contract. Something I didn't know I was getting into, because it was in gangs that I got acceptance. It was in gangs that I found a culture of my own. It was in gangs that I found my identity. I'm out here just like giving speeches and stuff and maybe trying to deter, maybe I need to deter somebody else from following the same footsteps that I followed.
Spider's old life is quickly fading. Gabriel has accepted a new one.
Oh, I had my baby. Yeah, baby. He was born on Saturday, 4:30 in the morning. Little Gregory. I named him Gregory after Father G.
For the fourth time, Gabriel is a father, but this is his first hands-on experience as a parent.
Yeah, Father Greg, he's been done a lot for me, Before, I was like in a hole, like just in a world where I was doing all kinds of stuff, bad stuff, doing what gang member does, jumping people, stuff like that, I ain't being a man, I just being a little troublemaker and stuff like that, I got too much stuff to lose now, It is hard, it is, because I was raised being a little thug, a little trigger-happy guy, and I became what I became, I ain't ashamed of it, though, it made me a better man, the things I seen and stuff like that, but, learn the hard way, though. I feel it inside me now, I need to be there, I need to hold on, I need to stop being a little, I need to just love my kids. First of all, I'm gonna give them the things I didn't have when I was small, a little G. Just because we gangbangers doesn't mean, we're dirty like that, we gotta look out for our young ones too.
This could be the child that brings hope to a family that never had any.
How you doing?
My name's Scott.
Hi, Scott.
This is Matt.
Pleasure. They're filming a documentary, so just ignore them.
Everyone wants a piece of Father G, even Hollywood.
So I have a list of about 7 guys. How do you want to do this? One at a time, or in a group, or you're going to take pictures also?
We could just have them, maybe half, split it in half.
Okay. I'm going to let you take over this office.
It's going to be really quick.
Oh, quick? Okay, good. Let me get. And who else did I say? Julio. And I'll just give you 3 at a time. Okay. Will you check your attitude at the door?
Yes.
Okay, I was just wondering. Come on in, son. Remember I told you about that football thing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I promise they won't have hickeys when the next time arrives.
It's just one more job, but this one's a lot more glamorous. In an odd way, Mule Creek Prison became Mule Creek University.
Fast lane living, no breaks are given, driven by the streets, gang life addiction. I truly believe what I'm closest to is my music, you know. Before I had opened up to anybody else, you know, with my pains and my hurts or my joys, you know, I learned that I could write down a piece of paper and try to make a song out of what I went through. The paper didn't judge me. The paper didn't talk back to me. It didn't talk down to me. Hopeless feeling, everyday killing, 3-strike felons, weapons concealing. And that was my way of releasing my hurts that lived inside of me or that haunted me when I went to sleep. Or raised by junkies, high school flunkies, good with the bad, but it always came ugly. That for me was big because that was like one route of healing myself at that time. And then when I started to rap to other convicts, whether it was in YA or the pen or whatever, and my homies be around, they'd be like, damn, I felt that, you know? And at the same time, it was making me feel good.
What's up, bro? White fence? Ah, right there, dog. Work for Homeboy Industries. Doing a movie interview.
Well,
Yeah.
just making sure.
Oh, okay, okay.
On the road to recovery, Joe comes face to face with a vivid reminder of his past.
Just tell me how I grew up here. I just got out of the joint,
Yeah.
like 10 months ago. I
Really?
pulled 14.
You did 14?
Yeah, it's been a long time. I haven't been here since I've been out.
I'm only here once in a while.
It's something that never goes away, you know?
It never goes away. I'm gonna stay from life until I die. If I see something that needs to be done, it's gonna get done. You know, we're not here to disrespect the people. We're here just in case, you know? Somebody comes to try to home invade your house, we're gonna stop that. We're not gonna fucking let it go, you know?
At the same time, we have our own issues with other neighborhoods.
Yeah.
You know, and they're the ones that come and try to mess up what we got going on, you know? So it's like everything he just talked about, I was just sitting here reminiscing on how I was. We always come back. We always come back. When you're in your familiar territory, that's your comfort zone. And when you're taken out of your comfort zone, you just feel out of place.
Shortly after this meeting, Joe went missing from Homeboy, vanished. Homeboy Industries was an important stop on Laura Bush's visit to L.A. Her tour guide, Gabriel, made a deep impression on the First Lady and her team.
Ever since I've been starting working at Homeboys and everything been real good to me, you know? You know, met a lot of good people, you know? Homeboy made me realize that, man, I could talk to a lot of people, you know? There was times where like, nah, you do it, man, nah, go, you do it. Well, I can't, you know? But now it's just like, man, now I just do it like, you know, professional at it now, you know? I love it, you know, I love coming to Homeboys, you know? Hopefully down the line, you know, I go to school and become a counselor, you know, and teach the kids, you know, what's wrong from right or wrong, you know? You know, that being in a gang is not gonna get you nowhere, you know?
Yeah. Well, anyways. I'm a boy with Heineken. This is actually in Hollywood. I believe it was Hollywood and Vine. This is one of those nights, you know? Just me and Joe enjoying it, you know? I was his friend, so he looked to me, I think, for a lot more than just, you know, guidance, you know? I mean, that's what friends do. They're a lot more than just positive guidance. They're criticism, they're, you know, the truth. You know what I mean? If I'm your friend, I'm gonna tell you the fucking truth, even if you don't like it. Because if I see you going the wrong way with it, I'm gonna let you know because, goddamn it, I want you to let me know the same thing.
AWOL for over a week, Joe showed up at Homeboy Industries without a word. Crossing paths with an active gang member revived old feelings, and he couldn't fight his addictive behaviors.
You know, Joe has to come to the grips that he really wants to change. And I think Joe has that. He knows what recovery is all about because he was in CGA.
I would always ask, you know, as a friend, you know, what's up and really mean it or whatnot, but there was already things that I think he was secluding from me because you could see it, you know, you could see it in somebody's walk. And I had like related it to probably he's just going through pain. He was really good at hiding the shit, you know what I mean? My boy's a manipulator, you know? He's got the gift of gab, he's a great individual, but I had to let him do his own thing. You know, I had to let him find his way.
Francis's daughter, Estefany, is turning 15. In most Mexican households, that means quinceañera, the traditional celebration that marks a young girl's transition to womanhood. It's also a chance for Francis to start over and put the past behind.
Yo sé que el corazón es el que ordena, y en las cosas de amor es el que manda, y es difícil romper esta cadena cuando se ama un amor con todo el alma.
As an extra in the film Gridiron Gang, Joey Ray stood out. The producers took notice.
It was a weekend, so I came back Monday, and they pulled me to the side again and said, we've created you a position. And I was like, what do you mean you created me a position? And they said, we're upgrading you to a principal role. You will now be considered Chavez, the heavily tattooed kid in this movie. It was completely out of this world type of shit. I mean, here we are with these actors everywhere. I mean, The Rock's running by, you got Exhibit walking by, everybody's saying hello, eating in the same tent. For us, it was like unreal. This is shit we see on TV. This is not shit that we mingle and rub shoulders with. So here I got 7, 8, you know, little thugs with me, and they acted good, but they were feeling like, damn, is this true? Is this true? Is this too good to be true, you know? So it all comes back to Father Greg as far as I'm concerned, because he's put me in this environment to where I can go out and mingle and meet people and network and to learn who I'm supposed to be. Not as the old me, but use the old me experiences and use that in a positive manner to help people, whether it be kids, whether it be faculty, whether it be social workers, whether it be law enforcement, whomever is open-minded enough to listen. To me, I see like to the future. I'm like, when this movie comes out and when my CD comes out, when this stuff comes out, it shows that we can fucking change. That we can change, that you can be in the hardest of hardest places and still change.
My name is Angelica Houston.
And my name is Martin Sheen. And we would like to welcome you to tonight's 3rd annual Lo Maximo Awards ceremony.
Lo Maximo is our one fundraiser that we do every year, and it's a big, you know, $300 plate dinner, and get lots of folks to come to celebrate Homeboy Hero or Homegirl Hero. We have an Employer of the Year. We have friends that we honor. The idea is to raise money, but to raise consciousness about what we're doing. It's sort of a celebration of Homeboy where you bring friends together and talk about, you know, where we've been this year and that kind of thing.
Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the 2005 Homegirl Hero, Francis Macias Aguilar.
Good evening. I'm sorry, I'm so nervous. Good evening and thank you. It's truly an honor to be the first homegirl awarded the Lo Maximo.
She's one of those people who are, you just say, you know, she's had to carry so much in her life, and it's making it all the more remarkable that she's in fact such a good mother, and you know, solidly, you know, good and person who's just hasn't had a lot of guideposts and has somehow managed to come to a sense of you know, purpose and meaning and hugely appropriate with her kids and that kind of thing. And you just go, wow. You know, rough edges, not perfect, makes a lot of mistakes, and is somebody who's just remarkable in her ability to redeem a life that was just riddled with barrier and obstacle and difficulty, and it's just extraordinary.
I want to thank Father Greg You taught me that we are all the same, that we are all human. You helped me find my heart. You always tell me that I'm giftedly outspoken. Well, hear this loud and clear. I love you, and I thank you for allowing me to love again. United States.
So what's this?
From the moment it opened, Homeboy Bakery was a go-to kind of place. Six years of success were lost in a few hours. The fire was caused by faulty wiring. Everything was lost in the ashes.
It was sad because, you know, after that, we knew it was gonna not be the same. Our lives was not gonna be the same no more. The neighborhood not having the bakery here like we used to, that's what really hurt it. Like, you know, like all the community coming and, you know, all right, bakers, and, you know, that's good. You guys are doing positive things and, you know, working.
Father G inspired his homeboys with a new business venture, graffiti removal. The vandals who once defaced the streets of their community were now the ones cleaning it up. In early summer 2004, tragedy struck. A fast-moving car of gangbangers opened fire on the graffiti team. When it was over, one of Father G's boys was dead. 1 month later, still reeling from the loss of one of their own, Father G and the boys found themselves attending yet another funeral.
Even after I talked to all the 17 workers who all said, let's keep going, it's a risk we're willing to take, is what they said. It was just too much for this organization to withstand, to have it continue.
After taking 2 steps forward and more than double that back, Joe tries to get himself into rehab.
Well, as I can see, the next 24 hours are going to be even rougher than the last, 8 months, 6 months, as long as this has been going on. I've watched him come from the top to the bottom. And I've been thinking about it, and I might not get no sleep tonight, because I'm going to make sure that he gets some sleep. Because tomorrow will be, I hope, the beginning of his new life. So what's up, my boy? You ready or what?
Yeah.
That means no, huh?
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm just bummed out. That's all. Just bummed out, really.
What do you mean bummed out?
Not happy at all. That's all. But anyway, I guess I gotta feel this, right? Go through whatever I gotta go through.
You're about to go through some shit you don't want to do. And if you're not ready, I understand. I respect it.
It's not so much that I'm not ready. It's just I'm gonna still be in the same situation.
Well, I'll be fucking blunt. I need the old Joe back, homie. Fuck, I'd rather have Cricket back. Than Crystal Joe. Cause this fucking drug using Joe is fucking everything up, dog. The honeymoon's over, homie. My friendship will never end. But I'll have to love you from a distance, homie, as your homie. Cause Joe, I'm just as fragile as you. Tomorrow's your day, dog. Just one more travel.
Bottom line, I'm gonna do it anyways, regardless. Regardless. I left yesterday. Joey said no go, knowing that I was gonna go do something, and that something was using drugs, and the door wasn't open to me. So that's basically what happened. Honestly, I'm just not ready for rehab.
Joe's addiction wins the day. There will be no rehab. He goes back to his girlfriend's house. The party continues. The man who had given so much to this community was now in need himself.
I would see him going to the office and he looked really tired and really sick.
I was diagnosed with CLL, which is chronic lymphocytic leukemia.
And I tell him, you have to go, you have to rest. And I could tell he didn't worry about his health. He always worried about what everybody else had to say.
I wish he could learn how to say no, but he doesn't know how to say no. Oh, just one of those things. That's what he wants to do, and there's not much you can do about it, and I'm certainly not going to tell him not to do it.
You know, a lot of homeboys like, if Father Greg leaves us, what would happen to Homeboy?
I hate to admit it, but Father Greg, I mean, none of us are going to be around forever. But who's going to take over for Father Greg when he leaves?
You know, there's no cure for this. So because it's chronic, it'll always come back, and they'll try probably chemo again and possibly a bone marrow transplant.
The doctor was so excited when he found out he had so many siblings he could choose from. Hopefully he won't need it, but the doctor said, oh, but just in case, you know, we won't have that to worry about.
I had a homie, because I keep getting all these calls from homies who are quite concerned, especially guys in jail who haven't been out here and know that I look okay and I'm feeling okay, you know. But so a homie called me on collect from jail, and he said, you have to be honest with me. And I said, okay, are you dying? And I said, no, you know, I'm not dying. That's what I thought. That's what I told this guy who told me that. I said, look, I know G has cancer, but he was getting that shit fixed, he said to him. So I've been getting that shit fixed for the last 2 years, so I'm feeling much better.
The president and I just had a great meeting with some boys and girls and their mentors, people who exemplify the new initiative called Helping America's Youth. Helping America's Youth highlights the importance in every child's life of a loving, caring adult, whether that's a parent or a grandparent, an aunt or uncle, a teacher, a coach, or a mentor. In the fall, we'll host a White House conference on Helping America's Youth, bringing together researchers, community leaders, educators, and others who want to find solutions to the challenges young Americans face. I hope that some of you will be able to join us next fall at that conference.
You know, coming to the main warehouse wearing a suit, you know, that's something big, you know. Nice. It's cool. You know, it's like I feel real good, you know, looking in the suit like that. My oldest daughter, she's like, man, you going to the White House? You know, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to the White House. So hopefully she tell her teacher that and her grandparents, you know, because I was looking at me as a gang member, you know, this and that, you know, but little bit do they know people change, you know?
It's gonna be a good experience going to the White House. You know, growing up, I have a 3-year-old and a 10-month-old. You know, when I grow up, tell them about it, you know, how going to the White House, how it'll be. Can't wait till the day comes when she picks us up and we're off to Washington.
Yeah, this is the first time me ever wearing a suit. So, you know, it feels good. I'm ready to go to Washington now. Man, I feel like a businessman, man. Right now we're going to the White House. We're invited to a little party in there. We had a few incidents.
Coming to the White House, he forgot his ID.
And today in the morning, my pants were at the house.
In LA.
In LA. So
these are my brother's pants.
So this, you know, we seen everything. Washington Monument, the Vietnam, the wall, the statue. What was it? Yeah, Lincoln Memorial. Yeah, the Lincoln Memorial, sitting on a chair. As a kid, I used to always see that in cartoons and stuff like that. You know, and now I'm actually here in person. I seen the the Wizard of Oz shoes.
Did you get to meet the president?
You know, I got to see him. I think he left because he had other things to do. So he just was there for 5 minutes and just took off.
The lady was there.
She
She
took
was
us
a private tour.
She took us on a private tour. Took a picture with her again, 3 pictures with her. I didn't know she had 2 dogs, Barney and what?
What was the other dog?
Man, my mom's happy, man. She's real. She never thought, well, you know, after all the struggles I gave her and everything, you know, and she never thought I ever come to the White House, you know. My kids are happy, my wife. Last night I called her and she's like, man, you sound excited. You sound like, man, I wouldn't ever in my life think that when I was in prison, you know, I would never think that I was to come to the White House, you know. It's like a dream come true, you know, for me to be here, you know. It's been a year and a half I've been out, you know, and thanks to Big Pod and Homeboys Industries, you know, doing good. Excuse me, and I'm at the White House.
We were in the White House, you know, having a good time, you know.
Because we were just picking up a glass of wine, just drinking, talking to all those high-class people. They had crabs, they had caviar, they had I'm talking about some stuff I've never seen, but it was nasty, you know. It looked good food, but it was real nasty, the truth. I couldn't eat it. It was making my stomach turn around. It was, you know, it was good, you know. This is a moment to remember. You know, this is something to remember. You know, thanks to Father G. You know, we love him to the fullest. You know, I'd do anything for him. You know, we love him a lot. Thank you, Father G, for bringing us here.
Always a great experience to have these guys, especially that was worth the whole price of admission. But
Sure
these guys
was.
were great, and they were.
No, you were great, Pops.
And they treated these guys really like special, you know.
They treated like a lot of people came up to us.
VIPs all the
A lot
time.
of people, a lot of people.
What do you think you'll take back to LA?
Man, I'm taking everything
wanna know
back.
what I take back? Napkins from the White House.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I got napkins for the White House.
Yeah.
So you know.
There you go.
Just say no to wine. All right.
There you go.
There's a saying, when you raise children, the days are long, but the years are short. So it is with Father G and Boyle Heights. It would be very difficult to measure the accomplishments of these young men and women on a daily basis. But taken in their totality, there are all sorts of miracles, large and small. G-Dog's dream is contagious. So many young men and women of East Los Angeles have taken that sueño and made it their own.
My great honor to introduce a real homie from the neighborhood, Mayor Antonio Vergara.
It's important for us to remember that all of us are children of God. Father Boyle understands that better than anyone. Give him a big hand.
I know you're just trying to stay warm. I'm no fool. You know, October of '99, the bakery burned to the ground, and I remember getting that phone call at 3 o'clock in the morning and rushing over there, and flames were shooting through the roof, and fire trucks were surrounding the bakery, and women from the projects, whose brainchild truly was Homeboy Industries, came out and they were crying and hugging me and promising me that once the sun came up, they'd begin preparing food to have a venta de comida, to sell food. I remember a teenage girl named Lucero threw her arms around me. She too was crying, and she says, "Don't worry, G, we'll have a car wash." But the next morning, the sun came up. We called all the bakers who worked there, and all rivals, enemies with each other prior to the experience of baking bread together. And they all arrived, and they were just sort of commiserating with each other, but we weren't able to locate a kid named Danny, who we couldn't find him. So sure enough, he shows up at about 1:45, dressed in his white uniform, Homeboy Bakery over here, and Danny over here. And his step is light as he walked off the bus and walked towards the bakery parking lot. But he got just a couple steps in, and he saw the smoke still wafting through the roof. And he saw the soggy mess that the firefighters had previously pulled out of there. And he saw his co-workers just picking through the rubble. And of course, he knew exactly what had happened, and he couldn't move. He just stood there and buried his face in his hands and just began to sob, because this was a whole lot more than a job. It was, in fact, his reason to get up in the morning, and more importantly, his reason not to gangbang the night before. But quite beyond that was the union that he experienced with his co-workers, enemies, was deeper than anything he had ever known in his own family, and certainly stronger than anything he had ever experienced in his gang. So all we could do at that moment was surround him with love and the promise of rebuilding. And many ventas de comidas and car washes later, here we are. You know, Camus writes, where there is no hope, you have to invent it. This inauguration this morning is about the invention of hope in a city where oftentimes for young men and women who plan their funerals and not their futures, where hope is a foreign thing. And this place here announces that we will stand with the disposable until such time that we stop throwing folks away. That we will stand, in fact, with the demonized so that the demonizing will stop. This announces a future to those who have had trouble imagining one. And so we're proud to be in the heart of the city. And we're proud to call the city to its heart. And so I'd like you to join with me as with my monaguillo right here, Gabriel. We're going to bless this ground behind us as we begin this effort. We know that you imagine a circle of compassion and you insist that there be no one standing outside that circle. And so to that end, we seek to bless this place for you so that we can announce a message of sure and certain hope for those for whom it is formed. Within this circle of compassion, which you seek to make wider with each day, and with the blessing of this building now to begin construction. En el nombre del Padre, del Hijo, del Espíritu Santo. Amen. Thank you.
For the first time, some have seen a glimmer of esperanza. And that hope is contagious. Many people believe Father G gives these kids too many chances. But if you look at it from his point of view, it may very well be their first chance. A tiny little milagro.
Soy luz y sombra, el sol brillante, frío beso de nube, frío beso de nube, que acaricia tu piel, que apoya tu altar, la roca bajo tus pies. La voz del bujo que siempre nos canta. ¿Quién podrá negarnos lo que nos falta? Todos pasan sus días entre mis brazos. Tenemos mucho que compartir. Hogar fecundo de árboles viejos, de flores tiernas recién nacidas, raíces maduras y esperanza futuras, la familia unida. Pregúntele al polvo de dónde nacimos, pregúntele al bosque que con la lluvia crecimos. Pregunta de las palmas que con el viento se mueven. Escucha el corazón de tu madre y breve la voz del bujo que siempre nos canta. Que podrá negarnos lo que nos falta. Todos pasan sus días entre mis brazos.